Just moving on, I think, Chris's keynote made it very clear that the creator economy is absolutely booming, and that the fact that artists are not getting return from the likes of the streaming platforms like Spotify and moving towards platforms like TikTok is obviously driving a much bigger opportunity. If we look at the fact that, according to a report out by Influencer Marketing, the economy itself is estimated to be worth over 100 billion. YouTube alone is expecting a 30 billion stream of revenue at the end of 2021. Over 43% of creators report that they make a livable wage from their content at $50,000 a year or more. I think, it's very clear that this is something that people should be taking notice of. So I'm just going to move straight on to Paul. And Paul, you run a company which licenses commercial music to content creators. So the growth of this creator economy must be, music to your ears, for want of a better phrase. However, licensing, as we all know, is not a straightforward task. How important is it that creators are able to license the right music for their videos, given that this is the area in which you specialize?
Thank you, Jules. It's hugely important, right? Media, we just heard from Chris at Media there. In October of last year, Media put out a report saying that user-generated content in 2019 contributed $1 billion to the music industry, but that by 2022, that would grow to $6 billion, which is exponential growth, right? And what we're seeing there is that there are more and more user-generated content platforms that are delivering revenue streams to the music industry as they compete for market share with platforms like YouTube, right? But what we have established, and our argument to the music industry, is that the unintended consequence of copyright control on platforms like YouTube is that they've created a vacuum at the very top of the content creator value chain, right? With the creators that really earn money. And you've got platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Triller about to imitate YouTube's creator tools, YouTube's creator monetization policies, which means that whilst that explains the growth in regular UGC revenue from UGC platforms to the music industry, but it means that the problem and the void that's created on YouTube is also about to be multiplied by the same factor. And given that 90% of all views on these platforms come from the top 3% of creators, which is within the demographic that I'm talking about, then in having your music played there and having it broadcast to where 90% of all views are coming from is integral to breaking music to a new generation and to being relevant to Gen Z as where and when they consume their other content. On Licked alone, right, in the last 18 months, we can point to 1.4 million searches for songs that we didn't yet have on the platform. So with minimal marketing and a relatively small startup, right, we can see that the appetite is there from creators alone to get access and to work with the artists they know and love. And over and above that, our case studies tell us that when people are able to use chart music over something like stock music, that all of their success metrics go through the roof, right? So if you've got YouTube videos and you want the YouTube algorithm to pick you up, what you really want is people to watch your videos for longer, people to watch more of your videos, people to thumbs up your video, people to comment on your video, and people to share your video. The more all of those are done, the more revenue you'll earn, and the more YouTube will promote your video for you. And in all of those metrics, in every case that we've done, we've seen that music from people the audience know and love encourages all of that behavior. So really, I've been saying this for years, Jules, and you'll be aware of that, but user-generated content and where it meets the music industry, I think will be one of the greatest, it is currently the greatest untapped revenue source for the music industry going forward.
Yeah. I think that's very clear. And I think, the growth of platforms like TikTok, the reality is that they are a threat to the traditional music industry. Why do you think, Paul, that there's been, I'm not sure necessarily resistance, but why do you think that the industry, the labels, the publishers haven't really up until now tried to enable creators to better monetize their content? It's not massively accessible. It's not massively affordable. Why haven't they moved beyond where they are before this point?
Traditionally, what happens in the music industry, right, is that someone innovates outside of the industry and brings a handful of shiny new stones to the music industry and says, look at these shiny new stones. And the music industry turns around and says, can you leave me alone? I'm busy bludgeoning the last bit of blood out of this stone, right? I've just worked out how to get blood out of this stone. And so, like, their solution to digital was high def CDs, and their solution to iTunes was Blu-ray, right? So, like, having said all of that, right, that's because they are oil tankers. That it takes a long time for them to change direction. But there are more and more really good, really innovative people I'm finding at the major labels now that are trying to drive that change from the inside. But you've got archaic legal structures, archaic clauses in contracts for artists and management and approvals and things like that, things that just don't represent where the consumer landscape is today, and certainly isn't fit for purpose in the user-generated content landscape. Yeah,
makes sense. So Mary, over the last couple of years, there's been an increasing convergence between music and gaming, with more and more creators making themselves present in the game space and wanting to use music to better engage with their fans. As a company which actively runs its own supporter creator program, what challenges have you and Epic faced in trying to navigate the use of music for the multiple different stakeholders that are in that sort of equation? The community, the labels, the publishers, the DSPs, and it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it's very relevant to sort of where Paul just ended what he was talking about, right? But even to take a step back for us, we firstly are extremely community focused, and we are always looking to do everything in service of our players. That trust and loyalty from them is super important for us, and we've got a very close relationship with them. If you go and do a quest within the game, it might say something that you don't understand and we don't explain it. We actually have that relationship with our creators to go onto YouTube and look up what they're showing and how to do that. That's just a little bit of background to say, as we wanted to put music into the game, we've had to figure out how to be able to create solutions for them, like offer streamer mode, where we then turn off all the music that we have in the game that's licensed, so that you can go ahead and take that stream and post it. And as we've sort of gone over in depth, that's a huge loss, in my opinion, for the music labels and publishers and artists who could really be benefited from additional exposure. So for us, I think the problem really comes down to your point, what is the issue with the stakeholders? There's too many of them. When I think about all the different parties that are trying to now be part of the solution, you've got the labels and publishers, you've got the creators, you've got the platform on which the creators are posting, you've got us, and then you've got inevitably now another party involved that we're facilitating to try to make that happen. And we've worked with Paul and Lit in doing some of that, and they've been great partners. But the role that we end up playing is then that of really a mediator, a negotiator. We're figuring out how we can modify terms and unique one-off structures in order to be able to provide cool experiences. But it comes down to exactly where Paul was saying, the music labels and publishers are not yet ready to move away from a model that has been making money from them. And, we relate to that on the gaming side. A business model is something very delicate. You want to shift. And so they are working through that. The platform has this as one product within a suite of products that they are offering. And so figuring out their partnership in order to be able to address it. And we're looking for a way for, 3 or 4 parties to get paid off of an ad-based model, so that inevitably, if you're currently paying 2 people, requires money to come from somewhere new to fill that gap. And so I think it's going to need to be some innovation on all of our parts, and a little bit of a view towards the future business model and revenue generation than immediate near term. And for us, it's a delicate balance of just figuring out how we start to get comfortability across all parties with that.
Can I jump in there, Jules? Because Mary's made some really good points. And full disclosure, we do work together on numerous fortnight-based music events. But when you look at what happened in the pandemic, right, when when commuting went down and obviously office working wasn't a thing, initially streaming dropped and then picked back up. But the music industry was able to, but live completely went away, right? It just wasn't possible. But then you look at what happened where the music industry started to see growth, and it was in revenue from UGC platforms, because people are at home watching more videos, creating more content, posting more content and sharing it. And then the metaverse, and specifically Fortnite, comes along and provides them with, hey presto, a live music venue, right? And a live music venue with unlimited capacity. And that's, if you're in the music industry and if you were ever in any doubt as to what role user-generated content and or the metaverse could play for you, the pandemic really put it front and center and put sharp focus on it.
Yeah, agreed. I think, going back to what you were talking about in terms of the tools that you're developing, Mary, such as streamer mode, and obviously it's clear that you work with Licht and they're providing solutions to you. And even as Paul's just mentioned, in terms of the metaverse, it is possible to build these technologies to drive the industry forward. Are there any other particular companies or areas, either in live or in the metaverse or on social platforms, which you see to be driving forward the industry, to be making the labels sort of sit up and take notice?
I did a little bit of thinking ahead of this panel to see if I could come up with a couple other names that I was on a point to share. And the answer is, I don't have a long list on that. I think Licht has been extremely innovative in doing that. And I think that there are some other products out there. Monster Cat Gold is one that's really looked at this as well, that we highly regard. But for us, every solution right now still is creator profile based, right? So it's still requiring a list of names. Yeah. And I think as it evolves, we will move to a place where at scale, we'll need to be able to find new ways to pull levers. That's not just identifying the unique person that you are white labeling in that case. However, that does appear to be the first step towards this path that everyone is moving towards. And it is a good step in the right direction. But I think you'll want to see us move towards additional abilities to identify, AI type based technology or whatnot. But there are not any sort of particular specifics that have been identified that I think are sort of that. So it'll be a crawl, walk, run, and we're moving towards that list base. But I think right now what you're seeing, the best case scenario, is it's going to be spearheaded both bottoms up with users, the way Licht is allowing people to be their own advocate, make their own ROI decisions on what they're able to do, and in order to use that music and find the engagement. And then you'll see partners like us spearheading one-off interactions for the people for whom they're specifically trying to greenlight for.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Owen, now you're well-versed with the power of the creator economy. You helped take Samuel Jack's Feel Like Summer Song from what was arguably a bedroom hit to a global phenomenon. 1 million+ streams, one of the first tracks to break out of Instagram Reels, well-known celebrities such as Gordon Ramsay using it in their videos, a world tour, 3 major record labels going after you. Tell us how this all started and where you are now, kind of how you've ended up where you are today.
Yes, thank you. So this is quite a unique situation, something I've never personally experienced before. So towards the end of May, well, firstly, we've been working with Samuel for a number of years on his management and from a label standpoint. And the song in question here was released 2 years ago. And towards the end of May this year, I started noticing spikes across DSPs. Spotify, Apple, etc. And then I was trying to ascertain where these spikes were coming from. I saw that they were coming out the Nordic regions, Scandinavia, and then working with our distributor at the time, which was Ingrooves, trying to find out what was driving this activity. Digging around for a couple of days through various platforms, it's transpired. Well, I saw a lot of videos being uploaded to Instagram Reels, something that I hadn't explored a great amount myself. And so by the end of May, so towards the end of May, there's about 1,000 videos I saw uploaded. I sort of monitored this daily And then I could see that there was sort of 500 being uploaded a day, then 1,000 uploaded a day, then 3,000 uploaded a day. And then very rapidly, by sort of mid-June, we were seeing 10,000 videos with the song uploaded per day, over like 500 an hour with this song. And so I was, evidently that was where the activity was coming from. I was trying to work with our distributor at the time to sort of escalate this, see what we can do from the standpoint of Spotify. We started seeing it entering viral charts on Spotify in various countries, and then just literally watching the metrics from the back end across all the platforms and all the all the sites where I monitor the data coming from. We could see it sort of literally jumping country to country, which was just fascinating. Starting out, like I said, Scandinavia, Germany, popping into UK, popping into US, into Canada, parts of South America. And then seeing like how we could work to leverage this with the DSPs. We were showing all the metrics that they always ask for from the organic standpoint. We were added to like 150,000 personal playlists within 14 days. We ended up in 15 viral charts. We were like #1 in 25 other charts. We were streaming heavily, but we still weren't seeing any support from the DSPs. And then, because of this, labels started reaching out to us. They started, they're popping on their radars, and people come out the woodwork very quickly. And we wanted to take this beyond the reels. We needed some support in with the DSPs, or hoping that we'd get some support with the DSPs, and hoping that potentially a major could help facilitate that. At the same time, we wanted to look at crossing over into traditional radio, and to do that as quickly as we needed or quickly as we wanted, we would need an international support on that. So that sort of led us into the conversations with the major labels. So that's, for the most part, it's something I've refrained from. I've been independent. I've got an independent company. I've worked with independent artists, and we've sustained a number of artists this route, and the majors can facilitate at the right time, and this just felt like this is when we needed that support for a bigger team quickly.
Sure. Now, if I was a creator, or indeed potentially one of your other independent artists, I might be asking myself, how could I possibly replicate what Samuel Jack did and get that level of notoriety? What do you think it was about this particular track that made it go viral even? Was it good timing because of COVID and everyone was super pissed off? Was it a good strategy? Was it a solid fan base? Was it luck? And how important was having the right music to that?
Just to answer the first thing, so the having the right music. I mean, look, in this situation, it's imperative. I mean, the song was called "Feels Like Summer," and then going, back. It was a culmination of timing, the song, the lyric, the emotion. The unique situation of like the world. For the most part, the Northern Hemisphere was coming out of a lockdown. And people wanting, people venturing outside again, showing off in video forms on a platform where, it's so quick and easy for virality to happen. It's like they can grab the audio of someone else's video within 2 seconds. It's reached, that audio is captured, reshared, and it's, it was spreading at such a rapid rate. Trying to replicate it, I think, is, there's no sort of blueprint for this, and everyone's trying to do that. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to the music creation, you've just got to work from what resonates with you, what you enjoy doing, and then, hopefully that resonates with someone else the same way.
Sure. Now, the irony of this situation, specifically for Paul, is that Licked originally had Feels Like Summer on its platform before Samuel was signed. Then when he moved to a label, apparently you had to take the track down, which was obviously not brilliant. How much of an impact did this have both on the artist and on the creators, first being able to use the track and then potentially not being able to use the track? And what pain points did this cause you as a business?
Me?
Yeah.
But first off, let me just say, the penultimate time I saw Samuel Jack perform, it was in the cellar of a pub with about 15 people. And then Owen calls me and says the song's had 100 million streams on Instagram, right? Which was just a mind-blowing mind-blowing performance, really, and just not a platform that you really hear those stats associated with. What happened with us was we have Universal and Warner signed. Universal own Ingrooves. Ingrooves distribute to us in the same way that Universal and Warner do, but Ingrooves acts as an independent arm of Universal. When the song got signed, Owen and Sam decided to sign it to Columbia and Arista, Sony companies, the one major that we as yet do not have on a contract, and so we were forced, as happens every now and again, we had to remove the song from the platform. I suspect the impact to Sam and to Owen was minimal, right? Because we're still in our infancy in terms of the impact we create at real scale. But I can tell you that the moment he told me what was happening with the song, we acted really quickly. All of us, Owen, management, Sam, and Ingrooves, and got the song on Licked. And in 2 months, it did 35 licenses and over 1 million views on YouTube videos. Which, when you've got good management that's forward thinking, like Owen and everyone at TY Songs, then every percent helps, right? And if you can get that song in videos that do over 1 million views in a matter of weeks, then it's another 1 million people that can find out about the song, right? Every video that uses the song attributes the song underneath the video and directs them to the nearest DSP to stream it and to download it or whatever they want to do. So it was a pleasure, because I know Owen very well and I know Sam very well. So it was a pleasure to be part of that story, and it was bittersweet that we had to take the song down, but I was delighted for them that they got the end result and the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow that they deserved.
Sure. But hopefully on that point that it will come back round and we can get it back on the platform in time for next summer.
Right, exactly. It's going to feel like summer again soon. But what is interesting is that we are getting, more and more people are using search buttons on the platform, like what's popular on TikTok, right? We're seeing what's happening on other platforms, saying these songs are trending over there. Do we have them, and can we make them available to YouTube creators? And the answer is that yes, we can. And very popular playlists on our homepage are songs with over 100 million streams, but so is trending on TikTok, right? So there is crossover. So few creators are tied to one platform.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a slight sidestep, and actually, the three of you are, work for different companies, come from different backgrounds. When we look at the power of the creator and the creator economy, it actually is now going beyond the music and the games industry. We're seeing creators have huge impact on the commercial world, to the extent that some major brands are actually hiring them in as creative directors, and this has happened both in the music industry and outside of the music industry. And I guess, it's largely because they've been able to successfully grow relationships with their audiences to a size where it's making a huge impact. Do you think, and the question is to all of you, that growing a fan base on a platform like TikTok does lend itself to success in the commercial world?
So I'll jump in. Look, for me, what was the figure there, Jules? You said the creator economy is worth $100 billion.
Correct, yeah. It's about $104 billion by the end of this year.
In 2020, the recorded music industry drove $21.6 billion, right? And in 2019, the last live year we had, it was $29 billion. So follow the money, right? Yeah. If I was the music industry, I'd be going, how are they driving so much revenue, and how can we partner with them to do the same with our business, right? And the truth is, crossover, partner, and learn, and that's what I would be doing. But we are in that hybrid space, and I bet Mary's got something to say on this as well.
Yeah, so I was going to say my answer is quite predictable. With our mission to be out there to build the metaverse, much of what we are doing is funneling a platform like that in digital marketplaces to create that type of parity, so that creators are able to both continue to progress their own success, but to find ways to connect and make those commercial successes. So, I think what you mentioned, Jules, I don't necessarily see, well, of course, I think we've identified some talent that may go on to be commercial directors here or there. I think the way the world moving is the fragmented, is the user created, will become the next set of culture. And so it's actually 100% it leads to commercial success if we are able to, for our traditional partners, if they're able to figure out how to participate, but at least a commercial success, I truly believe for those creators, because I think platforms are finding more and more ways to make the connections you make deeper, better, more immersive, and then actually add value back. So of course we understand that incentive structure needs to be set up.
Yeah. And then from your side, Owen, as the guy that works closely with these independent artists that are maybe now diversifying their careers beyond just music.
I think, from our standpoint, look, I think there's a heavy amount of weight being put on TikTok right now as far as the success of a song or an artist, which can be tricky because I think, depending on the genre that you're sitting in, even with the DSPs, I think, that's weighted in certain genres. So others are finding it hard to get attention, across those platforms. Then it just becomes even more niche on what people are looking to invest in. And yeah, I think from our standpoint, it's like it's looking beyond the the fad of that song, or whatever might take off on how do you build the artist outside of just what might what might become viral for that moment.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work, not to jump in, but on the connectivity of those platforms where artists are able to go viral, right? I do a lot of having that song stuck in my head from TikTok and looking up the lyrics and then finding it on Spotify. But how do you start to connect that user's account to other places, to Spotify, find that attribution and start to really connect it all is where I think this all comes together. And I think that there's a future world, where in addition to having a social media manager on a team for an artist or any business, you're going to start to have, of course, I'd like to say it's a Fortnite manager, but really our mentality is it's probably a metaverse manager, could be on Meta, could be on any of the other platforms in that world with more specific tools and skills as those evolve out.
A metaverse manager.
Yes.
That's the first time I've heard that phrase, and I think I'm going to be hearing it a lot.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I'm obviously conscious of time, start late, so unless any of you have anything else to add, I'm just going to do a quick wrap.
Okay.
Perfect. So, just thank you very much. That was super insightful. I think, what's very clear based on what Chris presented and what we've all talked about is that the creator economy is and will continue to be serious business. The point that big brands, DSPs, the music industry are all looking at ways of engaging creators as a means of reaching a broader audience is obviously, tantamount to the success of what they do. The question I think remains is whether they're still doing enough to support them in terms of making content more accessible, whether support is continuing to come from companies like yours, Paul, or whether it's a revenue play for everyone. Ultimately, I think the way that all parties can maximize their time and investment is by working more collaboratively. And we're already seeing that, as I said, between the music and the games industry, and hopefully that will continue beyond. But I think the question will always remain, where does the power lie? So watch this space and see what happens. That's it for today. Thank you very much. If anyone else has anything, then obviously jump in now. Otherwise, over and out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.